Looks like first in is Meg Linehan. So go ahead, Meg.
Hi, Lindsey. Meg Linehan at The Athletic. I'll kick us off. Just what are your impressions so far of this camp, of trying to kick off 2021, actually getting some games in January as well with this team?
One, just so excited to be back. It's been a little bit for me, and it's just nice to see everyone again and compete and, have a January camp again. Those are the most competitive, and it starts off the year, and obviously we're preparing for a big tournament. So honestly, it's just very nice being back right now, and super exciting that we can actually play games as well.
U.S. Soccer just released the video yesterday of Inside the Lines and actually getting a glimpse of the training and the pace. And my editor was actually saying, I watched that video and then I got fed a video from 2014 and just seeing the change in pace, in just how training looks so different. And I was wondering if you could speak to, you just said January is the most competitive camp, what that tone has been like for the national team at the start of an Olympic year.
Yeah, I think best way to put it is, we even talk amongst players here, you can do however much in your off season to try to emulate what we do here and prepare as much as possible. But the second we get here, it's so different. You're playing with some of the best players in the world and competing every single day and knowing that, your spot's always up for grabs. I think that's, again, what makes this team so special and what makes this environment so competitive and welcoming for everyone to get better. That's why we will always want to be here. That's why everyone's working, their butt off in training. So I think we should be so thankful that we have that kind of environment here.
Perfect. Thanks, Lindsey.
Thanks, Meg. Let's go to Seth Bertelny next. Go ahead, sir.
Hey, Lindsey, Seth Bertelny with Goal.com. You were the first women's player to skip college entirely and go pro, which was 9 years ago. I know that makes us.
Oh my gosh.
I was wondering if you could kind of go into your thought process at the time, what went into your decision, and now the landscape changed a little bit. If you could kind of contrast that to the decision that players face now today.
Yeah. Are you sure it was 9 years ago? I'm just kidding. It feels so long ago. I think obviously when I look back on it, and I've spoken so much about this, it was a tough decision. You give up a scholarship to a school like UNC and being a Tar Heel and what they have to offer there to go overseas with the unknown. And again, I say this to everyone, it was my route and that's what I chose to do. And everyone obviously has a different path and everyone can get to, this team or wherever with whatever path that is right for them. So when you see players, nowadays that are turning pro, maybe going to college for a little bit or just going straight out of high school, it's exciting for me, but I would never say that, I give this advice to every single player to, just turn pro. I think if anyone approaches me, and I think Mal sees the same thing, is, it's not for everyone. And we try to give that advice as much as possible that, you need to choose your path and what's best for you and what you need to develop. And for me, that was going overseas and challenging myself in a different way with a different culture. Some people want that, some people don't. So I guess that's what I'd always say to anyone that has that question in mind. But again, it's super exciting to see that there are just different pathways for young females because it's always been something for a male athlete and not very known for females.
Do you think that there's more of an infrastructure in place now for players to either skip all of college or part of college?
Yeah, but also just knowing that other players have done it. I think that's a big thing. I think when you see someone like me or Mal or other players that have turned pro, after a year or two in college, young players, young female athletes can look at that and know that that is a route for them if it's what's best. So I think that's a comforting feeling for other individuals and makes it more realistic. Whereas before it wasn't, for me it was a very scary feeling because it hadn't been done and I didn't really have someone to speak to other than male athletes that had done it. So I think that's a great thing now that, you have an opportunity to get advice from someone that's, been in that scenario.
Thanks, Lindsey.
Yeah.
Thanks, Linz. Let's go to Annie Peterson. Oh, hold on. Go ahead, Ann.
Hi, Lindsey. Thank you so much for doing this. I was wondering about your COVID diagnosis and what that was like. Were you scared? Did you have symptoms? What was the recovery thing? How was your recovery like? And, how does it feel to be back? Are you 100%?
Yeah, well, thank you for asking. COVID time was not a fun time. I'll say that much. There was probably a week and a half there that was pretty miserable, and obviously wouldn't want anyone to have to go through that. I'm very lucky, that I'm healthy and I'm young, and I came out of it okay, and, all the testing afterwards was okay, but it is a scary time for all of us, and thinking of individuals that are a lot older or, more at risk with their health. That's more of a scary thought for me. And, but obviously now I'm doing well and, in camp and I feel 100%. But yeah, just not an experience that I enjoyed whatsoever. And I missed out on getting to play with the team. So that was a bummer, but yeah, it's scary just knowing what other people that might have to go through that could be a lot worse than me.
What kind of symptoms did you have?
I would say about everything except losing my sense of smell and taste.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad you're feeling better.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ann. Let's go to Grant Wiedenfeld. Go ahead, Grant.
Thanks, Aaron. Grant Wiedenfeld for Keeper Notes. Lindsey, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about Colombia and what kind of opponent we're going to see you face against on Monday, and maybe what it looks like in the midfield.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time we've played him. I know Hive probably knows on the top of his head.
Olympics. It was a while ago.
That was quite a bit ago. Yeah, honestly, for me, it's another game. I think that's the exciting thing. Obviously I couldn't be with the team in the Netherlands and playing a really good opponent. And I think now it's, putting what we've done this past week towards another game is really exciting. I can't tell you much about Colombia since we haven't seen him in a long time, but I think it's another game for us to work on everything that we've been doing in the past year and under Vlatko, and a game preparing us for the Olympics in the first one of the year, which is really exciting.
Great. Good luck. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Let's go to John Bobiak. You are unmuted.
Thank you, Aaron. Hi, Lindsey. Good to see you again. Happy New Year. I'm glad you're feeling even better. Hey, when we last crossed paths, you were training out at the Colorado Rush Field House, and I was really impressed with your affinity for your youth club and your willingness to, even at this age, your stature, to keep connecting with Rush. And I just, in a nutshell, tell me what brings you back there and to their events and to working out with both men and women and their culture. Share that with us.
Yeah, Colorado Rush obviously was my youth club, and they've given me a lot. They did a lot to get me to this point. I think the coaches that I had there, the environment that we have, it's a very professional environment and kind of a feeder system into pro life. I think the way that they teach their players on how they need to be, their core values, I think is something that really prepares us for where we're at today, and really prepared me. So, the amount that they gave me, I always want to give back. And I think I could say as a young young player there. We had a bunch of alums that would always, make their way back and make appearances and make us feel, special as young players and have someone to look up to. I feel like I've always wanted to be that for someone else. So anytime that I can go back and see these young players or go play with the boys who can, sometimes kick my butt, I want to. And I don't know, I think it's something very special to have in a youth club that you stay connected to. So hopefully they appreciate that and actually want me around still. But it's just a really cool system we have.
Wonderful, thank you. And you kicked their butts.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Linz. And John. All right, Alex, Ozzy, go ahead. We got the last couple for Linz here.
Hey, Lindsey, Alex Ozzy with NBC Sports and On Her Turf. When all of us spoke to Megan Rapinoe the other day, she spoke about kind of since her last time with the team, just what the growth that she's seen in her teammates and the program as a whole in terms of conversations about racism and social injustice. And I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about your own journey with those topics and just kind of the changes that you've seen in yourself in the program.
Yeah, to be perfectly honest with you, I think with our team and our teammates and players that are a little more outspoken about that, I think it's open, some of us individuals that aren't as out there about it and weren't as comfortable speaking about it. And I think it's been a learning process for me, and I think a lot of the players on our team can feel the same way. So I am thankful that we have players that, one, can help us learn and help keep the conversation going. And, someone like Pino that is very outspoken. It's really cool to see, what some of those players are doing and how they can help us and help change the world and change, us for the better and what we're trying to get to. So again, I think it's been a big learning process for me, and I'm still in that phase. I think we can always keep learning and keep the conversation going. So really cool to see kind of the transformation in this team, on the field, and then what we're doing off of it.
Thanks.
Thanks. All right, this really is the last two for Linz because we've got to get her to lunch. Jonathan Tanwald, go ahead.
Thank you, Aaron. Hi, Lindsey. Jonathan Tanwald from the Philadelphia Inquirer. As you look at some of the younger players on this team, including obviously your Thorns teammate, Sophia Smith, but Katerina Macario, who's going to France, and lots of others, what's it like for you to now be one of the veterans, even more so on this team with this group of players who are just now turning pro coming up? And have you given Katerina any advice yet on life in France?
I have not given her any advice yet. I'm sure that will be a conversation we have. But yeah, I think it's really cool to, I guess see myself as more of a veteran player. I think it's weird to say still. But, it's exciting seeing these young players come up and, actually be making statements. And, I'm lucky to have Soph, with me at the Thorns. I think that's an exciting player for me, and I've said that before, but I'm really grateful for her, and she's actually become a close friend for me. But helping her in any way I possibly can and seeing her growth even in this past year has been very exciting. And I think even more so than now, Katerina, I think she's come out of her shell more in this camp and in this environment. It takes a little bit in your first few camps, but you see how incredible she really is, how technically, savvy and creative she is. So I think it's going to be a huge player for us and something very exciting for our future. And, I wish her the very best in France because, she's going to an organization that has won everything and continues to do that. And that's, they say it in itself, what they've done. And obviously Lyon was a rival for me, but always on top of the world with what they're accomplishing and the players they had. So really, really cool for her. I think it's going to be a great experience. And again, I wish her the very best there.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, JT. Last one goes to Maria Monroy. Go ahead, Maria.
Hi, Lindsey. In 3 days, you will have the first game of the year against Colombia. How do you see the level of women's soccer in Central and South America compared to the North American level?
Yeah, obviously, you know, we hadn't played against these kind of opponents until I think it was last qualifying, but I continue to say it. I think everywhere in the world, women's soccer is improving, and that's again really exciting. You know, even these teams that we've played in qualifying and teams like Colombia, I think they always bring something different to the table and challenge us in a different way. So I think that will be a great stepping stone for us in this first game of our year, and again, just very excited to see what they bring to the table.